Welcome back, pasta lovers. Today we're doing a deep dive into
Mafalda pasta.
Mafalda pasta. Now,
I
I'll
love this
admit,
shape.
it's not a shape I'm super familiar with.
Yeah.
And we're going to be exploring specifically a recipe for Mafalda with tomato basil sauce.
Yeah.
And get this, it has a connection
Oh, it does.
to Italian royalty.
It does.
So Mafalda pasta
Yes.
is named after Princess Mafalda of Savoy.
Yes.
And those ruffled edges that you see on the Mafalda
Mhm.
are said to resemble the designs on royal gowns.
Interesting.
I know. Have you ever cooked with Mafalda before?
I have.
What's it like?
It's similar to pappardelle
Okay.
or fettuccine,
Okay.
but the ruffles really do bring something special to the table.
Yeah, those ruffles, I was looking at them, I was like, what is the purpose? Is this just
Yeah.
purely aesthetic?
Well, and that's what's so fascinating about Mafalda is that it really marries form and function.
Okay.
So those ruffles aren't just for show. They're strategically designed to capture every bit of sauce.
Oh, clever.
And speaking of sauce, this recipe that we're looking at today features a classic tomato basil sauce.
Okay, I love a tomato basil sauce.
Yeah.
It's so simple.
So simple, so fresh, it really lets the Mafalda shine.
All right, so we've got royalty, we've got fashion, we've got delicious sauce. Let's unpack this recipe.
Mm.
One thing that really stood out to me was the emphasis on using pasta water. You know that starchy liquid gold
Yes.
left over after you cook the pasta?
Absolutely.
To get the perfect sauce consistency.
It's key.
Why is that? What's the science behind that?
Well, you're spot on with that liquid gold analogy. Pasta water is packed with starch that was released during cooking,
Right.
and that starch acts as a natural emulsifier. It helps bind the sauce together,
Okay.
creates a smoother, silkier texture that clings beautifully to the pasta, especially to those lovely Mafalda ruffles.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So it's like a little culinary hack that elevates the whole dish.
It is.
Yeah, I'm always looking for ways to like up my sauce game.
Right.
And this seems so simple yet effective.
Exactly. And when you pair that perfectly textured sauce with the Mafalda, which has that delightful bite,
Yeah.
that texture that's both delicate and substantial,
Huh.
it's just a match made in pasta heaven.
Now I'm getting seriously hungry. So let's walk through the steps of this recipe so we can all get cooking. I'm all ears.
All right. First things first. We need to cook the Mafalda pasta. And as with most pasta dishes, the key here is to cook it al dente.
Al dente, of course.
We want it to retain a slight firmness,
Yeah.
a bit of a bite.
Right.
Overcooked pasta, culinary tragedy.
Especially when you've got a shape
Yes.
as beautiful as Mafalda.
You don't want to hide that
No.
under a mushy mess.
Exactly.
Okay.
So while that pasta is bubbling away,
Yes.
let's talk sauce.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the sauce is wonderfully straightforward. We're going to start by sautéing some minced garlic
Yeah.
in good quality olive oil until it becomes fragrant and just starts to turn golden.
Love that.
And then in go the star ingredients.
Yeah.
Crushed San Marzano tomatoes.
San Marzano, the best.
The best. They have a lower acidity
Right.
and a sweetness that just lends itself beautifully to a simple sauce like this.
Mm.
We'll add some dried basil, some oregano, and a pinch of sugar
Okay.
to balance out any lingering acidity, and let it all simmer gently for about 10 to 12 minutes to meld those flavors together.
Simple, fresh ingredients
Yes.
coming together to create something spectacular. Now, I can't forget the fresh basil
Yes.
that you mentioned earlier. Is that where the wow factor comes in?
Absolutely. That fresh basil is the finishing touch
Right.
that elevates this dish to a whole new level. Just before serving, we're going to tear some fresh basil leaves, sprinkle them over the pasta. That burst of vibrant green and fresh aroma
Yeah.
is the perfect counterpoint to the rich tomato sauce.
I love those little touches that just brighten up a dish, both visually
Yes.
and in terms of flavor. Now, I have to ask, what about cheese?
Of course.
Because, let's be honest, cheese makes everything better.
You're speaking my language.
Now, Parmesan cheese is listed as an optional garnish in this recipe.
Right.
But in your opinion...
I think it's practically mandatory.
Okay, good.
A generous sprinkle of Parmesan just adds that salty, savory depth that really rounds out the flavors of the dish.
This is making me want to drop everything and head straight to the kitchen. This sounds like the perfect weeknight meal. It's quick, easy, and utterly delicious. What do you think?
Absolutely. And it's not just limited to weeknights. This Mafalda with tomato basil sauce is elegant enough to serve to guests.
Ooh, fancy.
Imagine twirling those beautiful ruffled noodles on your fork,
Yeah?
coated in that vibrant, flavorful sauce. It's a dish that's sure to impress.
That's a great point. But it's not just about impressing others, right?
Right.
There's something so satisfying
Yeah,
about trying a new recipe,
for sure.
especially when it involves discovering a hidden gem,
Yes,
like Mafalda pasta.
I agree.
It opens up a whole world of culinary possibilities.
It does, exploring different pasta shapes and sauces and ingredients. It's a culinary adventure.
It is.
Who knows, maybe Mafalda will become your new go-to pasta.
I think it might.
Um,
But before we go any further,
mm,
I think it's time to delve a little deeper
yes.
into the history of Mafalda pasta.
Okay.
Where does this royal connection come from?
Yeah.
What makes this particular pasta shape so special?
Let's get into it.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to our deep dive.
All right, now I'm really curious about the history of this pasta.
Yeah.
We touched on that Princess Mafalda connection,
Uh-huh.
but is there more to the story?
There is. So it's believed that Mafalda pasta originated in Naples
Okay.
sometime in the early 20th century,
Okay.
and it was indeed named in honor of Princess Mafalda of Savoy.
Mm-hmm.
Some food historians even suggest that those ruffled edges
Yes.
were meant to symbolize the waves of the sea,
Ah.
a nod to Naples' coastal location.
That's fascinating. It really paints a picture
It does.
of the pasta's origins, connecting it to royalty and the sea. It makes me wonder, though,
Yeah.
was Mafalda pasta a common dish in Princess Mafalda's time? Or was it more of a special occasion food?
That's a great question, and unfortunately, the historical record is a bit fuzzy on that detail.
Right.
However, considering its royal namesake
Yeah.
and the fact that pasta was a staple food in Italy across all social classes,
Yeah.
it's safe to assume that Mafalda pasta graced both royal tables and humble kitchens.
I love that.
Ah.
A pasta shape that transcended social barriers,
Yeah.
enjoyed by
Everyone.
royalty and everyday folks.
Everyone.
It speaks to the unifying power of food.
Absolutely. Food has this incredible ability to connect us across cultures,
Yeah.
social classes, time periods.
Right.
In the case of Mafalda pasta, it's a tangible link to Italy's rich culinary history and traditions.
Speaking of culinary traditions, I have to admit, the texture of Mafalda pasta really intrigues me.
Yes, yes.
You mentioned it's similar to pappardelle or fettuccine,
Right.
but those ruffles
Those ruffles,
must add something special to the eating experience.
they absolutely do. They're not just decorative. They serve a very specific purpose. They provide more surface area for the sauce to cling to,
Okay.
so that every bite is bursting with flavor.
Clever.
But beyond that, they also create a more interesting textural experience.
Okay.
It's like a little dance in your mouth with every bite.
Yeah.
You get the smoothness of the pasta sheet, but then those ruffles add a delightful little bite.
Yeah.
Chewiness.
That satisfying bite of al dente pasta.
Yes.
That rich tomato basil sauce clinging to those delicate ruffles.
Yes.
The burst of fresh basil. It's just a symphony of textures and flavors.
It is. It is. And you know, when you think about it, this recipe is a perfect example of how simple ingredients prepared with care
Yeah.
and attention can come together to create something truly extraordinary.
So true. It's a reminder that we don't always need fancy gadgets or complicated techniques to make delicious food.
No, you don't.
Sometimes all it takes is a good recipe, quality ingredients.
Yeah. And a little bit of passion.
And passion. Couldn't have said it better myself.
I agree.
You know, speaking of passion, I'd love to hear your personal take on Mafalda pasta.
Oh, you know what? I haven't had it before.
Oh, really?
I'm a little ashamed to admit it, but I tend to stick to my usual pasta suspects. But after this deep dive,
Yeah.
I am definitely adding Mafalda pasta to my shopping list.
Yes.
I'm so intrigued by its history, by that unique shape,
Yeah.
and of course, its ability to hold all that delicious sauce.
I have a feeling you won't be disappointed. And you know, the beauty of this recipe is that it's so versatile.
Oh, yeah.
You can easily adapt it to your own taste.
I am already thinking of variations. What about adding some sautéed mushrooms?
Ooh, mushrooms would be great.
Or a sprinkle of red pepper flakes for a little bit of heat?
Yes, little heat.
Or maybe some grilled chicken or shrimp for a heartier meal?
Make it a whole meal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So many possibilities.
That's what's so wonderful about cooking.
Yeah.
It's a canvas for your creativity.
It is.
You can take a basic recipe, make it your own,
Right.
personalize it to suit your preferences.
Exactly. It's about experimenting, having fun, and most importantly, enjoying the process.
I love that.
And it's funny how we started this deep dive focus on the pasta,
Yeah.
but we've ended up talking about history, culture, culinary traditions.
That's the beauty of food, isn't it? It's a gateway to conversations
It is.
about history, culture, and even our own personal experiences. It connects us in ways we might not even expect.
I couldn't agree more. Well, folks, I think it's safe to say that we have officially fallen in love with Mafalda pasta.
I think so.
But before we get too carried away, we do have a few more things to share with you.
We do.
We promised you a deep dive.
Yes.
And a deep dive you shall have.
Absolutely.
We've covered the history, the texture, the flavor, the cultural significance.
Right.
But what about the actual cooking process?
Yes, let's get into it.
Are there any tips or tricks we should know to make this Mafalda magic happen?
Oh, I've got some.
In our own kitchens.
Huh.
So we've talked about the history, the texture, those delicious flavors, the connection to Italian royalty.
Yes.
Now let's get down to like the practical side of things.
Right.
Are there any tips or tricks that we should keep in mind
Yeah.
to make sure our Mafalda with tomato basil sauce turns out perfectly?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the keys to success with any pasta dish, but especially with a delicate shape like Mafalda, is avoiding overcooking.
Overcooking. We want that al dente.
We want that extra, that slight bite that
Right.
keeps the pasta from becoming mushy.
Okay, al dente, key. No one wants a plate of pasta that resembles glue.
Right.
So we'll keep a close eye on that cooking time.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned using high-quality
Yes.
canned tomatoes for the sauce.
Yes.
Any specific recommendations? Any insider secrets?
High San Marzano tomatoes are definitely the gold standard for this recipe.
Wow.
They're known for their sweetness, lower acidity.
Right.
But honestly, any brand of canned tomatoes.
That are clearly labeled as high quality will do the trick.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be shy with the seasoning.
Okay.
Salt and pepper are your friends.
Right.
And a pinch of sugar can help balance out any lingering acidity
Oh, that's a good tip.
in those tomatoes.
I'm all about amping up the flavor. Now let's talk about the magic of pasta water.
Yes.
You mentioned using it
Yes.
to adjust that sauce consistency.
Yes.
Is there a specific amount we should aim for? Or is it more of a go with your gut kind of thing?
It's a little bit of both, actually.
Okay.
Depends on how thick or thin
Right.
you like your sauce.
Well.
I recommend starting by adding just a tablespoon or two of pasta water to the sauce
Okay.
and stirring it in. Well,
Okay.
if you want it thinner,
Yeah.
add a bit more, but do so gradually.
Okay.
The starch in that pasta water will thicken the sauce
Mm.
as it heats.
Gotcha.
So it's better to err on the side of caution.
That's a great tip. It's amazing how such a simple ingredient can make such a difference.
I know, right?
Now, are there any serving suggestions?
Oh, you can share anything that would make this Mafalda with tomato basil sauce even more special.
Absolutely. For a touch of richness and creaminess,
Ooh, yes.
try topping the pasta with a dollop of ricotta cheese.
Oh, ricotta.
It adds a lovely textural contrast,
Okay.
and it complements that tomato sauce beautifully.
Okay, you
And if you're feeling adventurous, you could even drizzle a bit of truffle oil over the dish
Ooh, fancy.
for an extra layer of decadence.
My taste buds are tingling.
Oh.
Cannot wait to try this recipe.
Yes.
But before we wrap up,
Mm.
I have one last question.
Okay.
For those of us who are new to Mafalda pasta,
Yeah.
where can we find it?
You should be able to find Mafalda pasta in the pasta aisle
Okay.
of most well-stocked grocery stores.
Okay.
Look for it near the other long, flat pasta shapes,
Okay.
like fettuccine and pappardelle.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't find it local, you can always check online.
Right, online retailers.
Yeah, there are retailers that specialize in Italian gourmet foods.
Perfect. So there you have it, folks. We have explored the fascinating world
We did it.
of Mafalda pasta. We delved into that royal history,
Yeah.
uncovered the secrets to creating a truly delicious
So good.
Mafalda with tomato basil sauce.
Love it.
We encourage you to try this recipe out for yourselves, experiment with those variations.
Nice to creative.
Yeah, most importantly, have fun in the kitchen.
And if you're looking for the full recipe along with other delicious pasta dishes
Right.
and culinary inspiration, be sure to visit our website at www.eateveryslice.com.
We'd also love to hear about your culinary adventures.
Yes.
So if you try out this Mafalda pasta recipe, share your photos and your feedback with us on social media. We can't wait to see what you create.
Send them our way.
Until next time, happy cooking.